this question, we'll go to the question. It's from Kat from Australia. And she would love some ideas on how best to settle her horse up for success, being yarded alone, in preparation for a clinic away. So her horses normally live in a herd of 8, just like you were really describing. She's split them recently into 2 herds just to kind of begin the process. But they're all comfortable and confident being led away from the property or on their own, or being ridden. So it sounds like just what you were describing. They're fairly settled in themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, the chances are they're going to be reasonable, okay? Like I said before, and sometimes they get involved in the new environment that they go into, so they sort of don't think about their other mates. And if they're a fairly confident horse, you can already lead away and ride away. The chance of them settling down and just like looking at another horse over there or being beside another new horse at a clinic, they're probably going to be okay. It's only the really, as I say, the really needy horses that have had a bad past that suffer really severely getting taken away. So if you've already got that established with your horses, it sounds like you're on the right path. Something you could do just to test them is just put them in a float. Like, you don't have to do it very long. You don't have to do it for a whole night, but you just take them up to a friend's house or somewhere, just another paddock somewhere, and just park them, put a little electric fence up, have your lunch there, have a cup of tea and a barbecue, have your horse there, visit it a couple of times like you camped with your horse at just out on a trail ride. And you might go for just half a day and just monitor your horse, see how it goes. And your horse knows you're there, it knows the float's there, it knows if it knows you well enough, and you've got a reasonable connection with it. There's still this idea of, I have safety around me. The people that don't have a connection with their horses and their horses are actually frightened of them, that's when, even if they were half stable as a horse in their herd, they're unstable around humans and the owner. So they're the ones that'll have also separation anxiety. But if you've done a good job with, your horse likes you enough, it feels like it trusts you. As I said before, like when I took a horse to a clinic, she was more busy following me around going, this is my herd, you guys aren't. So I felt I could have sort of taken her anywhere and she was okay with me knowing that I was there. And if you set up your float and you set up a little fence and give her some hay and some water and you have your lunch and just test her out, and if she's kind of happy and you might walk away somewhere and come back, and just so she knows that space and knows that you're around, then that's the sort of feeling she'll get at a clinic. So even if you did go to a clinic and there weren't any other horses close by that she can kind of mate up with overnight, she gets the idea of that feeling, or he or she gets the idea of that feeling of being away from the other horses, but also being in a familiar environment. So, if the clinic environment was going to be a big sort of, throw them in the deep end, you kind of make a familiar, like you don't take them to a clinic, but you make the yarding and turning up somewhere in a float and having the float nearby and your camp nearby something that they're familiar with. Then you're sort of setting it up for success. So, and yeah, it could be just a 2 or 3 hour float away and camp for a bit, and then turn into a bit of an overnight camp with your horse if you wanted to go like that before you take it to a completely like a clinic with lots of other horses and action around.
Hey, so that's setting your horse up to be put in a yard by itself. Now, can you talk us through how we can set a horse up to have us mount it on the offside? The question comes from Karen from Australia. She's just had a complete knee replacement, so she needs to be able to get on from the offside. She'd like to know how she can train herself and also her horse to be able to do this.
Yeah, so everything we do in leading is on both sides, okay? So I noticed I did a leading challenge just at a clinic. I had a little young horse there that hadn't really been started properly, and I said, he was still a bit green in leading, but good enough to show what I wanted to show. And it was, can you brush your horse, put a saddle blanket on your horse, and stand in the one spot? So what that entails is, and brush your horse all the way to the hip, down its legs and everything. So what that entails is you lead your horse into all the positions you would handle it from. And so just put your hobbles on, or your concrete boots, grab your lead rope and teach your horse to lead past you on both sides, and hold your brush in your hand and brush your whole horse from nose to toes, without moving your feet. Okay, so if you can do that, that shows, proves to you that your horse leads well enough and also can walk past you with full trust on both eyes, move past you. So some people can walk down their horse's side, but as soon as that horse moves its feet, it wants to kind of move the hip out, face up, and it gets nervous, especially on the nervous side. So if the nervous side happened to be the offside, when you go to mount it and it moves its feet or something, it gets nervous. But if you can do everything like that, stand still, lead your horse past on both sides, brush it all over, saddle it from both sides, girth it up from both sides, then you're pretty well there. And if you can do that without moving your feet, it shows how adjustable your horse is and how it can move around you very softly without any worry. Once that's done, you just maybe got to get bigger, wave your arms, get up above it a bit, like with your arms, and see if it's okay on both eyes. And then pretty well all it's got to do is handle you pulling on the saddle and pulling on the stirrup. So the next thing I do is I'll pull on the stirrup as I'm leading the horse around. So make it feel like it's a bit off balance, like I'm putting the foot on the stirrup and I'm pulling on the saddle. Quite a lot. I put all my weight on the saddle and kind of make them feel off balance and see if they can cope with it really well on both sides. So that if they can cope with the pulling and the body, the person, then you stand on a mounting block, lead the horse around a mounting block. Then you're above them. You can be right above them. Pretty well, then you just get on them. It's if they can do all that, then usually they're fine about mounting them from that side, and they're not too worried. It's just when you got them standing still and you just exposing them to you moving at a standstill, that's not going to work as well as moving them around. And yes, it's quite easy if you do good leading. If you drive your horses out all the time, then they're a bit more worried down the sides, and that's the problem with having that worry down the sides. Is if you fall off on one side, especially their nervous side, then sometimes you can't even put your hand out on that side because they've had a big fright from that side.
Yeah. I hope that helps, Karen, and I hope your knee isn't too sore and you can get back up on that horse and just jump in the saddle as easy as you'd like to be able to. Okay, thank you so much, Mark. We'll leave that there.
Yes. Yeah, no worries, Jenny. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
No, still what you were going to say.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, sorry. Just on that, it's a prerequisite to have your horse being able to be mounted on both sides, because I've seen many instances, especially when we're horse tracking on tight country and stuff like that, where you'd be on these trails and sometimes you just had to get on whatever side you could, and so everybody should be working on getting on from both sides. And what's also really important is, I think, and I'm in it, I have to sort of look at myself too and go, oh, you don't do that enough either. Is if you want to be really good for your horses, especially if you don't have a mounting block and you are mounting from the ground, it's good for your horse and your saddle to be getting on both sides, to just keep everything even. So technically you should be doing 50-50 if you really want. And also, has anyone tried mounting on the offside? You'll find it's actually, to get your head around it, because you're so used to doing it a certain way, it's actually a little bit difficult, and even your leg won't stretch as much and stuff like that. So it is good to practice it just for yourself in your own mobility and dexterity. It's good to do it for your horse to keep them nice and even, and also for your saddle.
There you go. Some great tips. Thank you so much, Mark. Thanks for those questions from our members. If you're interested in that challenge that Mark was talking about, it is on the online training videos, all part of the membership that you get for just a little bit more than a couple of cups of coffee for a month worth of 800 videos. So it's well worth it. Thank you so much, Mark. We'll be back next week with some more questions for you. See you then.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jenny.
If you'd like to ask Mark your question and get his insights to help you and your horse, it's easy to join Mark Langley online. Head over to marklangley.com.au and hit join. It's less than a couple of coffees, and the Q&A is just a piece of a whole package designed to support you and your horse with great training.